You guys see, and I just saw it today, but maybe it happened yesterday, and I didn't know that CEO who got shot in New York.
What is it? Deny something.
Deny, depose,
defend. Does that sound right?
No.
Deny, defend, depose.
Deny.
I bet Twitter.
Well, somebody Google it instead of you know what I mean.
He wrote it on the bullet casings.
I just finally, like an hour ago, saw
Deny,
the
defend,
actual video.
You were right.
Like it took me forever to find the actual video. I've got it here if any of you wants to see. Like
really,
video of the murder.
Yeah, it's everywhere. I saw it early today. It's not gory or anything.
And all the news agencies go, and the rest is too graphic for us to show, Don. It's like, well, that's why I'm here. That's why I clicked through your ad, you jerk. So I finally
it's
found
all
that
over
link.
Twitter.
Is it loading
right
for you guys?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was playing on mine. In any case, there's something interesting going on where
You fired all your staff. Sorry, Kyle.
Very much like when that billionaire exploded in his nonsense submarine and everybody like lolled. Same thing's happening here because this guy seems to be a real scummy piece of shit, and nobody except for his family cares that this happened to him. They said that this was the guy responsible for that AI that was denying like 90% of claims, and they knew that it was like fraudulent, it was denying 90% of claims, and they knew that it was a problem because they shouldn't be denied, and they allowed it to continue anyway. Like that company's profits last quarter was in the multi-billions of dollars. I forget the number. Maybe they made $8 billion profit last quarter, like something like that. So this guy who shot him is 100%. I'm sure we all agree. Someone who was damaged by the CEO's choices to deny
like a John
someone's
Hughes
claim.
Situation.
Just a John Hughes situation. He's had enough. Yes, absolutely.
Have we heard from Jodie Foster about it though? Like maybe she incentivized some of this. You know, she put out some.
What am I missing? I don't.
Isn't that the John Hinckley? Who was the person that John Hinckley was trying to impress with Reagan?
Oh, that was Jodie Foster.
That was Jodie Foster.
There was also another guy who himself on a live stream trying to impress her. So there's something about her that brings that out of people.
She's magnetic. And she's a lesbian, I think. So these guys are like,
let's not change the topic.
Yeah.
Is it good or bad that the CEO was murdered?
It's bad. I'm going to say it's bad.
It's bad.
I don't think
hang on. Add a qualifier. Is it good or bad for?
Will this make the world a better place or not?
It's not going to have any impact on the healthcare industry. It's not going to lead to any like reforms. And I'm deeply uncomfortable with people celebrating like that kind of barbarism. Like if the dude was corrupt or whatever, then he was
mutilated.
I believe in the process and like going through that. But I just think it doesn't portend well if we're descending into a society that celebrates that stuff. I'm going to be the Debbie Downer on this one and say I don't like it.
No.
I did see not that this is directly related, but in Missouri and a few other states, United or some other healthcare program was set to enact like a new regulation.
In New York.
New York, Missouri, and maybe another state or two, where they would only cover anesthesia for a certain amount of time in surgery. And then after that point, they were just going to bill it directly to you. Say there's a complication, something goes wrong, or maybe the surgeon's just slow, he's tired. Like now you're on the hook for anesthesia, and in our system, that's inordinately expensive. They pulled that. As if something huge happened in the last.
I don't think it had anything to do with this though. The governor or the mayor, is it mayor? Is Hutch the mayor or the governor of New York?
He's not the mayor.
He's not the governor.
The mayor is.
He's not the mayor. Yeah, mayor is
Adams.
Okay, yeah. So the mayor Hutch, she was talking about how she was putting a bunch of pressure on them. I think it was just the timing. I think it was just like really incredibly funny timing.
You can't deny this is going to bring a lot of eyes onto that company, and so they're going to straighten up at the very least. And if they have any controversial policies, you would imagine that those would get straightened up as well. It's awful that happened. That's not the way you want to see change.
It's like
I was interested to see the gun.
It's like when Abe of Japan got assassinated.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because the Abe assassination was a homemade, weird, funky shotgun that someone had crafted.
It was like a Borderlands gun.
Like a Borderlands gun. I think it was electrical impulse fired, like electricity was igniting powder that was shooting sort of like a crude cannon shotgun type thing.
Did you hear about why he was assassinated?
No. It has to do with him, the guy who assassinated him that guy's mother, I think, had given all of her his inheritance and her monies
to a religion,
to that religion that Shinzo like shills for.
Right. Yeah.
What religion was that?
Some sort of Catholic, Japanese, Christian, Japanese sort of thing. I don't know. It sounded to me like one of those, televangelist scam type things, and like a lot of money, like maybe millions, a lot of money. It's been years since that happened. But in any case, the homemade firearm, I think that was a homemade gun that the guy in New York was using. It looked really weird to me. And I noticed
he had to manually reload it after each shot too. And people were accusing him of like, this fucking amateur, he used the wrong suppressor. And then I saw other gun nuts being like, no, it's meant to do that. And do you have an opinion on that? Was he handling that gun well, or?
I mean, he knew what he was doing. But knowing what you're doing is like an hour's worth of practice. People always act like that's John Wick.
Are we talking about
we're talking about the New York guy. Yeah.
We're back in New York. Okay. Yeah.
So
the news reported it as he was competent. He had a malfunction in the gun and he just cleared it like he had practiced it. You disagree?
No,
Kyle?
other people were saying you had to manually like put another round in the chamber.
Yeah, you had to move the slide forward. Yeah. Like it wasn't. I guess it wasn't kicking back enough to, activate the action. Kyle, fill us in.
No. Keep guessing, everyone.
No, I didn't guess. I just told you what the news said. I haven't seen it.
What Taylor said was what I heard.
Yeah,
it had to do with the suppressor, and it was like stopping the. Okay, you go ahead, Kyle.
I refuse now. I'm not even going to say.
No, I want to know. No, I seriously want to know now.
I'll text you later. I'm not going to answer it.
You're not going to answer how the gun worked?
It was my topic. The whole point was for me to explain.
Kyle, I want you to fill me in, a rube, a bum, a street urchin, on why this happened the way it did. From the mouth of an expert.
I've been trying for 10 minutes, Taylor. They won't let me.
Telling me it's great.
Who's they?
I'm not going to fight the powers that be, Taylor.
I'll help you. If they start talking, I'll say, you be quiet and let this guy talk. I'm waiting to shut him down, Kyle.
Get him, Taylor. Oh, my God. It looked like a homemade gun, probably a homemade silencer. He's cycling it immediately, which isn't a malfunction. A malfunction is when the gun is, oh, no, it didn't do a thing. Let me figure out what that is and then fix it. But he doesn't have to do the figure it out thing. He knows that every time he fires, he has to cycle the gun.
Right.
And so it's essentially a pump action pistol at that point. Now, that's a thing that could happen with a non-homemade gun. There are guns that have little clicker that locks the slide in place so it doesn't actuate while firing suppressed. It's more quieter that way. But then, of course, you have to hand slide and operate the gun. Looked at me like a homemade gun, homemade silencer that he was operating like he knew what he was doing, I guess. But that doesn't mean John Wick. I hate that. When I saw CNN be like, oh, were we thinking some sort of assassin, some sort of professional hitman, perhaps flown in for nefarious purposes? And the guy's like, nah, probably just a guy who could shoot a pistol. That's what it looks like to me, Jan.
Do we have any idea why he had a homemade gun?
New York.
I didn't. You can get guns. My friends are from New York. They have tons of guns.
No, it might be hard to get a suppressor in New York, maybe?
It is.
Could be. Yeah.
According to what Anthony Cumia used to rant about on the O&A show back in the day, it was borderline impossible to get a suppressor in New York.
Wasn't there a court case recently where a federal judge or even maybe the Supreme Court ruled that silencers can't be regulated that much? Or am I making that up?
I'm not familiar with that.
So to get a silencer, you still got to do the tax stamp and the waiting period and everything, get it approved through ATF. But I would imagine if you're buying a pistol in New York, that's going to be a registered firearm and you're going to have to go through a waiting process and it's going to be tied to you. Whereas you could print a gun that would be very simple, and you could print a suppressor that'd be very simple, or even just make them, with parts without a 3D printer. And you've got a ghost gun. That's what they call it. I hate when they call it that, but essentially that's what you've got.
Can't you buy a gun in a
guns
state?
Are pretty flimsy, right? Like you only get like a few uses out of them, or has the material improved for 3D? The
material's improved with the 3D printing stuff, but especially with a pistol, he'd be fine. But I don't think that's even gonna. I don't know that it's a 3D printed gun. It just looked like the fact that he was cycling it and basically had a pump action pistol. Didn't
Can
look
a
like.
suppressor make the cycle action work worse?
I think it would work better.
Right? Yeah,
It'll work better.
There would be more pressure on the
what can happen is if you're using subsonic rounds for say 9mm, they don't have enough pop to cycle the gun, or maybe the gun isn't dialed in correctly to use that little amount of gas. Maybe you can adjust the spring or the gas opening or something else to make the smaller amount of gas cycle the weapon.
Tell me if this makes sense. Like I watched some gun guy today on Twitter who was saying that to him it looked like not an assassin, like a novice kind of guy, and his theory was that it was some like homemade or perhaps like low quality gun that was shooting 22, and so there's not nearly enough ass on it to blow it back, and he was doing that shit where like when you're new with handguns, you know how you often shoot low because you're like holding it lower than your line of sight, and then you're trying to line up lower than your line
there was
of
no
sight.
way to aim. He had to point.
So I think like he hit the guy in the back of the leg or like the ass or something on the first shot. Like he wasn't far enough away. Like, and this guy's whole point was like, if this guy was a trained assassin, there's no incentive to not walk up with one round in the chamber and just back of the head, one shot, end it, and then keep walking.
It looked like you got him in the back first.
Yeah, apparently he shot too low, either like lower back or like ass cheek or something.
Yep, he definitely did. I don't think it was a 22 because they said he wrote on the casings, and you'd have to be a goddamn like tiny person to write on a 22 casing.
That's a good argument. I didn't consider that.
Even to write on a 9mm casing, like he must have been in his hotel room last night, his hostel room, going being so careful putting a 5 or 6 letter word. What is it? What were the words? Denied.
Right. What's one of the words was original?
Depose. That depose is squiggly as fuck.
Like
they're gonna find dismember in his hotel room, like 30 failed attempts on the floor.
It's gonna be like 7.
There's gonna be a bunch of things like written on bullets that he thought was cool. He's like, and on this day, gives up. Like realizes he's not gonna get that. Apparently, deny, defend, depose are common terms in the insurance agency to denote deny the claim, defend the lawsuit, depose the patient.
It's a book about that subject.
Okay, I didn't know.
Title of a book. Yeah.
So I wonder if it's. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna do like a wrap around like kind of thing, but if you got more,
I was just gonna head back to where I started, which was like, is this a good for the world? Same. Right? Is this did a bad person just get murdered? Right? If he is the monster that the internet says he is, and there's no better source than Reddit, then then maybe it puts other bad people on notice? Question mark. Should there be, like, if you're a billionaire who makes his living killing people in a awkward way, in a roundabout way, maybe start providing better service? Question mark.
But it's not like it's not a good first world like. It's not good when first world countries start having like people assassinated in broad daylight like that. That's usually indicative of more violence to come. But I also like when I heard the story and I read it, like there was a part of me that was like, all right, if this was like some run of the mill fucking businessman or a plumber or an electrician, like in my head, it would be more tragic. Like it's like, oh, that's just a guy working, doing his shit day to day, as opposed to like a multi-millionaire who genuinely makes his bones and has every incentive to shut down people who have cancer from getting money to pay for their cancer treatment.
You know what's telling? They said how much money this guy made. It was outrageous, $100,000 a week or some shit. But the reward is $10,000. For a company that made like $100 billion a year or something like that.
$450 billion.
CEO is one of the most easily replaced positions in large companies.
$10,000. $10,000. That's what they throw up when a kid goes missing in the park, dude. $10,000.
Right? Yeah.
But also, so I was looking at it through the other lens, which is like, man, this guy seems to be getting better law enforcement than I would. If I was murdered, there'd be some part-time cop adding me to his caseload, and here it's like NYPD is circling around this thing, making sure that this is their top priority in the whole department. And to me, I'm like, dude, a pedo got killed. I don't even look for the killer. No, he's not literally a pedo. That's not what I'm saying. But a pedo quality person has been removed from the planet. I don't mind.
I think it's fair to worry about the possibility
words
of
from a
like
strong man.
if this kind of violence is like just treated with like unbridled like enthusiasm, then you wonder if people are going to start relying on violence for more
Unbridled
sort of like
enthusiasm.
dubious reasons. So like, you know, they kill their boss because they don't like them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But just like like what Taylor was saying, like in a first world country, you generally don't want people doing vigilante acts of murder to deal with these issues. It would be much better to
You
deal
don't
with them
tell
through,
me
like,
what
the
I
legal
want, Hutch.
system
This
or
is
the
what I
electoral
want.
system
All right.
or-
Only I'm inside my mind, and I
But-
want this. Let's
like,
give it a try.
I totally see where like the reason that lots of people who have probably had their lives destroyed by medical debt are like, you know what? This doesn't make me sad. I don't have to be sad about this. And it's like, all right, like I get it. Like those same people wouldn't be acting this way if this was a random murder of an accountant in Manhattan. Like no one would be like excited about it. No one, like people would be like, oh, what the fuck? Like you just killed some like dude who worked at H&R Block, or you killed some fucking plumber. Like
Our nation's heroes.
our nation's heroes are accountants. Everyone knows they're cool, they're smart, big dicks. Like the most hung of occupations, other than the Indian guys. They bring the average down.